Welcome to the podcast, Edie. I have never been more excited to get on a podcast recording in my life, I think.
I'm thrilled to be
Yeah.
here. Thrilled.
It was just like such a unique experience that I'm like I need to talk about this with someone and rehash it who is the closest to really understanding as anyone will be.
Yeah, and also because like we're not allowed to talk about it, and we're still not, I mean, we're at recording right now, we're still not allowed to talk about it. And so it's like it's so thrilling to get to talk about it with someone who was there.
Yes. Yes. Okay. So just some overview of how I'm planning on going about this. As I was saying before we hit record, we're going to go through, share our thoughts, reflections. I have some reflection questions to take us through. And then once it comes out, we will do another little piece of this part two of this podcast of what are our thoughts now that we've seen how it's edited. So
Yeah.
that's the plan for how to kind of give a full review. Um, to start,
Yeah.
I want to ask you, why did you decide to do this debate?
Yeah, I think we had a similar experience on this. So I got like cold DMs on Instagram from a producer. It went to my like spam. So I also didn't see it for like I think a week, or a few days, I don't remember. And then I saw it and I was like, what is this? And I didn't recognize Jubilee Media at first. And then I was like, I think this is legit though. And then then I realized I had seen these debates and I was like, huh, this could be really interesting. Um, and then I immediately thought about the fact that it would be Jillian Michaels, like immediately when I saw like what they had written in there. And I was like, I'll get on a call with a producer. And then I did the call and I was like, it thought that I was just gonna be like a 5 minute thing of like sussing it out. I asked straight up if it was gonna be Jillian Michaels, and he like laughed and like nodded his head but said, I can't tell you, but that's a really
Okay.
good guess.
Yeah.
And then we went into like I guess he liked what I had to say, and then like what we went into like immediate mock debate, which I was like not prepared for at all, and was like literally sweating because I was like, oh my gosh. And from that, I was like, wow, I have a lot of mixed feelings on this. One, I am a thin, white, cisgendered, very privileged person. Like I don't feel like I am really the person to be like speaking on, you know, fat liberation. At the same time, though, because I have thin privilege, like I am like someone who can speak to this with for certain protections and
Mhm.
like should I use my voice for this? So I went like very back and forth
Yeah.
on if like I was the person to do this or not the person to do this or one of the persons to do this. I asked a lot of questions in my interview of like what they were doing in terms of protection, who they were asking, what this was going to look like. I knew a couple of other people that they had asked. I knew that a lot of fat activists had said no, and so that was also like I was like, I felt even more of like, should I go as someone who has, done work in learning and unlearning in the fat liberation space as a thin-bodied person to try and speak to someone who is like so oppressive and so anti-fat? But I had lots of mixed feelings about it.
Yeah.
I mean, like it was like a really tough, and also like on the other side of it, other side of the coin, like the fact that she like stands for like literally the antithesis of everything I believe in from like the Maha MAGA
Right.
standpoint, like that was really challenging for me too.
Yeah, yeah, it's interesting. I didn't know who it was. I similar to you, I got reached out to over email, not Instagram, but similar kind of thing. And it just didn't occur to me. Like I don't know. I kind of thought, how could they even get someone like her? Like, 'cause she just feels so famous, kind of. Um, so in my decision making process, I wasn't well, I talked to Abby Atwood, a mutual friend who has been on the podcast too, and she said that they kind of told her it was Jillian Michaels, but still, so at that point, I had already gone through all the thinking. So knowing it was Jillian Michaels wasn't really part of my decision making process. What was part of my decision making process was, I have a twin brother who's like a big YouTube guy, and like he was the first person I asked, "Do you know this channel?" Because I had never heard of it. And he was like, "Leah, don't do it." And I was like, "Why?" And he said they platform a lot of problematic people, and I think it's really risky. Like you don't know how they're going to edit it or it's a huge audience. Like who's going to come at you and say what? And I've appreciated that perspective and still I was like, and I was saying this to you and we had kind of had a funny exchange about this at the beginning when we first met. I think a lot like my decision making was really coming down to the fact that I think a lot of providers, dietitians, therapists are not really prone to want to do this
Yeah.
because we can be like a very compassionate, sensitive in the best way bunch of like, oh, I could see how you could see that, you'd think that. And that's not really how you have a debate. Like,
Right.
and so we had a funny exchange in the beginning. I was saying that and I go, yeah, but like I'm from New Jersey and you're like, yeah, I'm from Boston. And so
I know
like
I'm wearing a West Coast sweater right now, but I am East Coast in my soul. So
which seems minor, but I actually do think lends itself to like a certain baseline. Of course, there's different kinds of people from everywhere, but a certain baseline of like feistiness that is right for this setting.
absolutely. Yeah, I completely agree. And I think it's also this like I have such like justice what's oh my gosh, I'm blanking on the term, like justice righteousness, like when something is not when I feel like it's not just, I
Yes.
like cannot
Yeah.
fit in that.
Like a sensitivity to things being
Yes.
unjust. Yeah.
Yes. And so I will like fight to the tooth about that. What's interesting is also like Jillian is not my freaking client. So like I don't need to hold space
That's true.
for the bias and the bigotry and the oppression. Like I don't need to be compassionate. And I think I told you the story of like during my mock debate with the producer, I like before we went into that, I was like, well, I think I could be interesting for this because like I can be more compassionate and like open-hearted. And then literally as soon as the first like mock debate question came, I went into like immediate fire, like Aries, like just like absolutely not sass.
Yeah.
He was like, okay.
Yeah. Oh, I'm an Aries too.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah. When's your birthday?
March 24th.
March 25th.
Ah, a match made in heaven.
Oh my God. Yeah. Okay. So it sounds like for you, it came down to like thinking about, yes, you have these privileges and those privileges afford you certain protections and you have some like feist in you that makes you good at debating. What was the ultimate piece or moment that you decided I'm going to do this?
Um, I think when part of it was like the producer said that they had kind of like restructured some of the way that they had done things based on feedback around like protecting the most vulnerable people. That they had gotten feedback and said that like, you know, they wanted to do right by it, that they had like, and we kind of heard this when we were there of like, you get like kind of like one chance if you name call, whether it's the host or I think they call it the hero, which is
I
weird
hate that
language,
she
but
was
like,
called the hero.
I know. Well, and then like if you do it again, then you're out. I don't think they, I mean, we can get into that, but
Yeah.
that they're, and it's just like they're trying to do a better job of like creating the conversation. I mean, I still have like feelings about it. I
Yeah.
don't think that they did a very good job.
Yeah, like they don't have like a therapist on the staff. Like it's just like a bunch of film people who want to stage
Want to
an
get
interesting YouTube
moments,
video. Yeah,
want to
exactly.
get
Like
virality.
yeah.
I actually, in my, I mean, I don't know if we're going to get to this later, but like in my feedback form, I said that if they end up doing that bonus episode with Marcy and Jillian, I said you need
Hmm.
to have a trained, a licensed therapist there
Yes.
because Jillian was cosplaying as a psychotherapist at the end, and I, myself and that other therapist, the redheaded therapist, I don't
Yeah.
remember her name, she was wonderful. We're like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Like she
Yeah.
was that's like you're going to cause serious harm, and like there needs to be boundaries around that, and that's where I think that they weren't doing a good job
Right.
of regulating, because it's not just about like name calling or like outright, you know, bigotry or anything or racism or fat phobia or anti-fat bias, but like doing things like what Jillian was doing, which is like actually causing harm by like trying to do trauma work with someone when you're
Yeah.
unlicensed is egregious and
Yeah.
needed to be stopped.
Right. Not to mention to do trauma work when you have no background on the person, you are in front of a ton of other people, you don't have their consent to be
Yeah.
asking like these, to be poking around in these very deep ways about their
Yeah.
past.
And
So
making us crazy assumptions. Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's kind of go more specifically into um, what was your initial reaction to seeing her when they brought her out, to experiencing her in real life?
Uh, I think because I knew it was her, I
Yeah.
was like, I don't know. She also like I didn't get like starstruck. Like I
Yeah,
don't
me
okay,
either, actually.
I not to be like mean in any way, but I think like I've seen celebrities out and about and like I've met celebrities, but like I didn't get that like
Yeah.
starstruck feeling. I was like, oh, you just seem like a person.
Yeah. Yeah, me too. And actually that made it hard. At first I really felt like a softening when I saw her because she was just like, "Hey everyone," sat
Yeah,
down. She's in jeans and a sweater.
yeah,
She's super normal feeling. And it's also like a pretty like I don't know, normal setting. It's not like she was like signing books or something. Like we were
right.
all kind of on level ground except for the fact that she was in the middle of the circle. And I know this is a small detail, but where you and I were sitting in the circle, were looking at the back of her head. And for some reason, the first thing I noticed was she was just like wearing like a clip, had her hair up
Yeah,
in a clip. And it just feels so relatable. I'm like, oh, like I wear my hair in a claw clip. Like it's just like so normal. Um, and I, I found it. I found it like yeah, that part of me that would make a helping professional like a therapist or a dietitian not good at fighting was really coming up for me when I first saw her of like, oh, like she's just a person
yeah.
and like here she is in her claw clip and I don't know, that kind of made it I think that made the first time I went in the middle a little hard to like really come at her, which is clearly what the producers want and what makes a good debate because I was just kind of like, oh, you're just a human.
Yeah. Yeah, I get that. Yeah, I mean, that's she did really just feel like a person. I had a very different experience when I first sat down because she immediately shifted when I first sat down,
In the
like
middle, when
there
you got in
in
the
the
middle.
middle, yeah,
Yeah.
which was so interesting to me.
Yeah.
I don't know, and I like we could analyze that all day long. I have no idea. I think I have one of those faces. I think for people, I get this all the time. I was like their cousin, their ex-girlfriend, their like I don't know. I
Huh.
have a
So
relate.
let me set the scene and I want you to explain it. So,
Yeah.
So I think I'll probably talk about this more in the intro. I'll record this on a separate track. But, basically, the claim is said someone gets to go in the middle and debate that claim. So Edie's talking about like when she first got to sit across from Jillian, you felt her shift in some
Yeah.
way. Tell me
Yeah.
more, because I don't think I necessarily noticed that from the outside as you guys were talking. I definitely did, but tell me more what that felt like, what you noticed.
So I had to sit for a claim I didn't necessarily want to, which was frustrating. But I don't feel like we need to get into all of that. But um, I sat down. I said, I'm Edie. I'm a eating disorder therapist. I've been in the field for 15 years. I'm like, maybe it was because I was coming down sitting as an expert. I wasn't coming in with lived experience. I wasn't coming in with like any sort of like empathetic story to relate to. I was coming in very much like, I'm here
Professional.
to
Yeah.
talk
Yeah.
about this.
I also think the physical is worth noting. Like the circle was at least 50% made up of people who probably would physically be activating to Jillian in the sense that like signaling, oh, this person obviously practices body positivity personally because they
Mhm.
appear to be in a larger body.
Yeah.
And maybe originally or immediately upon seeing you, that was a difference.
Yeah. Well, that was, yeah. So, yes, I think that I look like her, right? Like I am thin, blonde, blue-eyed, right? Like I don't know what color her eyes are. Like she has brown hair, but like like I am like her, right?
Mhm.
So I am like a threat in the sense of like she doesn't have to do this like mock compassion voice that she was doing with everyone else, right? Of like
Mhm.
I don't hate fat people. I love fat people, but I she didn't have to play with me. because I
Mhm.
wasn't, she doesn't have to pretend that she's not anti-fat with me because I don't represent that. So I think
Mm.
that that was definitely at play 100% of like, oh, this isn't a person who I need to like, the optics of this aren't like, oh, I don't need to do my pretend compassion voice,
That's
condescending
really
voice.
interesting. I didn't think about that, but you're right. I I'm like having trouble remembering if I felt that towards me because I also didn't come to the table with lived experience, and also came to the table as a professional. I wasn't thinking about that, but now that you say that, I can fully see that from experiencing it, at least from your debate. It's hard to know when you're in it yourself because it's like
Yeah.
so much is happening. But yeah, I mean that like hushed voice that she was doing of like really, yeah, like fake compassion
Yeah.
was super noticeable in the first few people she spoke to and
Mhm.
like really inconsistent with what we know her to be
Mhm.
from the media.
Yeah. It was, and I just read it as extremely condescending. Like it was just so, I don't know, disingenuous is like
Yeah.
the word that I would use. Almost mocking. Uh, I don't know. It just, and like, I don't know. And like what was interesting to me of like reflecting back of like how she was with me and like how triggering I seemed to be to her for whatever reason. And like again, I don't want to be unfair and try and say why because I don't know
Yeah.
why. Um, but is that she kept talking about like how people project onto her all the like the she's like use these very weird terms like good mommy, bad mommy. It was like
The sinner and the saint.
sinner and the saint, right? But then it happened real time in our interaction twice, right? Like both times that I went up, she had big responses to me when I
Mhm.
was being very neutral, which I think also was activating. I think that was part of it too. Like as I reflected, I was like, I think one of my skills as a therapist is that like even when someone is escalating, I can stay very, very calm. And I think that when someone is activated like that, it's really infuriating
Yeah.
when the other person is not responding the
Right,
same
because you're not
way.
like she's not getting a rise out of you, and she probably
Yeah.
hates that.
Yeah. And I think
Yeah.
especially when I like, because she was like, so basically what happened is I sat down. The topic, I think the thing was like, I'm going to use the term, even though I don't want to, but just so we have it, is obesity is inherently unhealthy, I believe was the claim.
Yeah.
I sat down and said, I'm not going to be using that word because I find it offensive and it's like a medically stigmatizing term. And then I think I said, do you understand why people feel that way? And she got really mad.
Yeah.
And she said, don't talk to me like I'm 3 years old.
Yeah.
And I was like, I was like, what?
Yeah, I mean, this is basic debating. Like, you need to make sure you're agreeing on the term at hand. Otherwise, you can't really move forward with a productive conversation. So, like, you weren't talking to her like a 3-year-old. Like, that was just a necessary thing that you had to establish to move forward in the claim, like what you wanted to get
Yeah.
across.
And then she's like, are we going to argue linguistics or are we going to talk about the debate topic? And I was like, I'm just trying to let you know that I'm not going to be using that word so it's not confusing when I say like fat bodied and you're
Right.
saying the O word. And she got so dysregulated. And then she starts like spewing out all of these really intense medical terms
Yeah.
and like making these really
And trying to make
awful.
you feel dumb. Like, do you know what this is? Do you
Yes.
know what this medical thing is?
Yeah. And then I didn't know. I got it wrong. And then what really made her mad is that I was like, okay, I'm willing to be wrong. I'm not a medical doctor.
Yeah.
And she flew off the handle at that and then started being extremely disrespectful to me. And I said, hey, pause. Remember a few minutes ago when you said that I was talking to you like you were 3 year old and you didn't like that? You're being extremely disrespectful to me right now. And she was like,
Yeah. Yeah. She really got flustered.
yeah.
Yeah. So what I really am glad you brought that up. I guess it didn't occur to me that you might have been triggering to her, one, as a professional, two, as someone who she can't do that fake compassion with because you're not leading with your story. It's okay if you don't remember, but I'm just genuinely curious because it's like I said, it's hard when you're in it. Did you get that any of that when I was in the middle?
I think when when you went back up, I think was it right after me? That's what I was trying to remember. Did you go? Or was there
Not
a
sure,
person
but
who
I
had,
did go up for that claim, so
yeah. But I
maybe.
like when you were you were like, I have like however many years and like what you're talking about, is it real?
Oh yeah, she was like lipotoxicity. Do
Yeah,
you know what that is? And I'm like, no, actually, I did study medical things like with, biochemistry, nutritional biochemistry, all that. And no, that never came up because that's like a TikTok diagnosis. That's like
yeah,
cortisol face. Like, no.
yeah. She did the same. She code switched
Yeah.
and because I think the first time you went up, she was like doing kind of a similar thing of like kind of like, oh, like you're like,
Hmm.
and then the second time she
Yeah.
was much more with you
Yeah.
because you were also saying fact check, like when I was saying you need to fact check that would do like the causation thing, and I was like, that is not true, and I was like
No,
literally looking at the cameras and being like, are we gonna fact check that, because that's absolutely not true.
totally.
And you were yelling that from the side too, and then you went up and then telling her that she was making shit up.
Yeah. Well,
Also, are
yeah.
we allowed to swear? Sorry.
Oh my God. Yeah. Of
Okay,
course.
okay.
Yeah.
um I think she code switched with you too.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think the first time, as I said, I was a little bit like thrown off by how much I almost like softened at like just seeing her as another human that I didn't like come at it enough as a debate, but I kind of quickly realized like, oh, this is like reality TV. Like they want something that's going to be interesting to watch, so that's what you have to give. And then the second time I got in the middle, I was like, okay. And also I felt way more equipped to come to argue that claim because that is directly about nutrition science. Like that's directly about the things that I've studied. Like weight is not an indicator of health. Like I love the science of that. And it was just so frustrating. She kept being like the Mendelian randomized control studies.
Yeah.
That never ever came up in any of my education. A randomized control study, sure, absolutely. And I was looking it up after, and it's like not really like a known thing. Have you heard of that? A
No.
Mendelian? Yeah. And because she was trying to say that that type of randomized control study accounts for confounding variables, that is how we know it's causal, not correlational. But it's just like as I said, and in that part of the debate, it's like you cannot keep a human in a lab, control everything, and have the only thing be the
Yeah.
only variable being fat because you can't do that. Like there's things that come with being fat, like you having had tried to lose weight, having had been oppressed, and having a ton of stigma at the doctor's office and in everyday life when you're trying to go buy clothes or you're walking on the street and someone yells something at you, like you just can't separate that from the body fat from the experience of being fat.
Right. But she doesn't have, I mean, like her entire thing was that like she doesn't want to pay attention to systemic issues. And
Exactly.
that like
Okay.
people who were talking about that, and I mean, and Tigress, who did the most impeccable job explaining what truly body positivity was, even though Jillian was like,
Yeah.
I mean, we can't see me, but like I'm putting my hands in front of my face.
Yeah.
Um, that like yes, it's been co-opted, but like that's also like doesn't really matter. Like basically, I want to kind of back up because like Jillian's claim was basically that like the problem is that like body positivity has been co-opted and watered down, and like that's a problem, and like influencers are giving misinformation. But then when people try to like push back and be like, yeah, and so has like diet culture, there's lots of misinformation about it. She was like, no, that doesn't matter. And
Yeah.
then it's basically that it's like the individual's person's responsibility to manage and deal with their stuff. And anyone who's like, yeah, but racism or poverty or anything systemic is like them just like copping out and
Right.
giving an excuse.
Yeah. So this is something I'm really like in the week since the debate. This is something that's really been rattling in my brain. I want to ask you too if you have any regrets or things you wish you did differently. I personally wish that I took more of the angle of weight isn't a matter of personal responsibility
Mhm.
instead of really harping on weight is not an indicator of health because then she came out with all the science about lipotoxicity and fake Instagram terms and whatever. And I think that like that was something people got at in bits and pieces, but just like really making her look in the face of do you believe that somebody's weight is their fault or is
Yeah.
within their control? And of course she would have said yes, or she would have like said yes in some weird indirect way.
Yeah.
And because so much of her claims were like hinging on this idea that a person could just pull them up by themselves up by the bootstraps and change it. And there's this one metaphor which maybe you've encountered. I was like, oh, I wish. I mean, she probably would have. There's almost nothing that you probably could have said that she really would have. Um, I don't know, moved her to change her mind. But have you heard this metaphor of like thinking about body diversity exists in the human species, thinking about like as an example, like the species of dogs, how like there's
Yeah.
like a pug
Marcy
and
kind of talked about that. She talked about like Great Danes and Chihuahuas. She like touched on it a little bit.
yeah, right. Yeah, I remember that. Um, yeah, this idea that like it's normal. Like
Yeah.
people are different heights and people are different hair colors. People have been different body sizes forever and it's not a problem. But like more so it's not something entirely within someone's control. I'm like, as I'm saying it to you, I'm feeling better because I'm like, I can just see how that wouldn't have probably changed much. But I was wishing that like we spent more time on that. I don't know. Do you feel like you have any regrets?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, there's so many things, but it's also so hard. I mean, I think that's the thing is that like the way that it's set up, it's like you start to make a point and then it's like you have to get pulled. And it's like impossible to complete a debate on either side. I mean, I think that like I think Jillian felt the same way. Is like as soon as like she felt like she was getting like way someone got pulled, as soon as we would start making like way we got pulled. Like it's not set up. I think part of the issue with the show is that like it's made to make clips of virality and not actually made to make impact. And that's where I think I struggle with the show. And kind of like my another kind of like to be transparent hope for being on the show is that like I will be able to get my voice out there in other ways that actually will
Totally.
have impact.
Yes,
Because
totally.
like this is not the stage that I want to be on. I don't want to be talking to someone who I will never change their mind, even though like I hope that by talking to someone and being platformed by someone who has completely viewpoints, I'll maybe speak to someone who's not as rigid in their viewpoints and get access to her platform of people who might have more, I don't know, openness to this idea, and speak to people who, maybe have been hurt or harmed by Jillian's thoughts
Yeah.
and
No,
give access to it. I don't know.
totally. I love that perspective of like this isn't gonna be the thing that is like gonna cause impact in the way of like changing the person we're debating that changing their mind. But yes, it can absolutely open doors for other opportunities where people are maybe more open to seeing another perspective. Totally. That was definitely a motivation for me doing it as well, of like a ton of visibility. Someone can watch that and be like, oh, I can see that that person would have interesting things to say if they had more time.
Yeah,
Yeah. Um, I want to talk about the four claims. So
yeah.
and like just briefly like how we think each of them went. So I'll read that. I have them four of them written right here and like content warning, these are Jillian's words. So like they're not, it's not pleasant. And Edie and I goes without saying we don't believe these things, which is why we were debating them. So the first one is the body positivity movement is fundamentally disempowering. The second one is the body positivity movement oversimplifies serious issues like disordered eating and trauma. The third one, obesity is not healthy, pretending it is puts lives at risk. The fourth one, large food corporations are the primary beneficiaries of the positivity movement. Um, so
The last one is so silly.
I know, and like really felt specifically about intuitive eating dietitians from that Washington Post article.
Yeah.
Um,
It was
but
just, I felt like that one was just like a Maha speak, like her to be able to like plug her Maha stuff.
exactly, exactly. So the first one, the body positivity movement is fundamentally disempowering. Um, can just for someone listening, can you share a few words on like just why this isn't the case?
I mean, like it, I guess like we should talk about like what her point was is that like it's been, I guess like she like had a really big harping on influencers. Like that was like her through line through this was that like influencers are watering down and disempowering the body positivity movement. She like really wanted to pat herself on the back that she knew how a body positivity movement started. She was like really
Yeah.
proud of herself for
Yeah,
that.
she really was. Yeah.
Uh, she also like when Tigress, who is unbelievable, fat activist, um, runs
NAFA.
NAFA. I acronyms. I have dyslexia, so I'm like I always mix them up.
Yeah.
Um,
I also can't remember what NAFA stands for, but I'll put it in the show notes. I think it's like
yeah,
the National Association for
for
to Advance
fat activism,
Fat
fat
Activism or
acceptance.
Acceptance. Yeah,
Yeah.
something like that.
Um, basically got her to agree to like be a fat activist, which I was like, what's happening? It was very bizarre, and I understand why Tigress was like confused at the end. Because it was like the antithesis of everything that Jillian had said.
Hmm.
If it follows through and Jillian like is gonna go talk to Southwest about like the changes that Southwest made and like do those things, that's wonderful. But it was very confusing to watch.
Yeah. Yeah. I was I kept feeling like the producers didn't do a great job of really like organizing the debate into like this is about this claim because it felt like she was taking that claim to like to in a different direction of like yeah talking about how it's been diluted and how influencers have changed it, but like that's not really getting at it being disempowering. I mean, I guess maybe a little it's like necessary context, but like I just kept feeling like it was kind of like you could go up there and talk about anything and like not it wasn't exactly like okay we're talking about this claim right now. But I guess all of this stuff is so intertwined that
Yeah.
it makes sense that that kept happening.
Yeah, but I guess like basically what Jillian was saying is that like because Jillian's core belief is that it's your responsibility to, although also she like was very careful of like not really saying this until she kind of said it at the end when Marcy straight up asked her if she could be like fat and healthy, and Jillian was like, "No, you
Yeah,
can't."
to her face. Yeah.
To her face, yeah. She did a pretty careful job of like not conflating like being fat with body positivity, even though people kept trying to get her to say it. She was like pretty careful, like PR trained around that. But basically was saying that like it was like dangerous to be body positive because she conflated body positivity with like just saying like I love myself and being fat. Like that was
Yeah.
kind of the undertone, if that does that feel right, like of what she was saying.
Yeah, she could, yeah, and she's like, so you're telling me you can just you're gonna just try and look in the mirror and say a positive affirmation,
Yeah.
and that's just gonna fix everything. And that was really bothering me because I personally hate affirmations. I would
Yeah.
never say to a client, just tell yourself you love yourself or like that's not true, like
Right.
toxic positivity. And there was a point where she kept being like, well, then how do you help someone? And people were like, oh, well, like you work with a professional and like you do
Oh
this.
yeah, and then she was like, "There's no such thing as a body positive professional," and I was like, "Put me in."
Yeah,
Like
and
that was the
that
next claim though.
so frustrating. That was so frustrating because it's like, well, how do you work with someone like, I mean, so many ways. You get at like, what does it feel like? Like what, yeah, what does it feel like people are thinking about your body? What does it feel like it means about you if you're in a larger body? Like, what are your values? Are those things even true? Maybe people are thinking those things, and are those people whose values you align with? Like, I mean, just all this like deeper work that is just like impossible. Like she's basically asking like what would you do in sessions as a
Yeah,
professional if you're not going to just tell someone to give themselves a positive affirmation and use toxic positivity. It's like how do we even begin to like explain what you
right,
do in such a like really nuanced and complex setting like a therapeutic space?
right. Yeah, it's like she was doing like this weird didactic of like saying that affirmations don't work, which like I would agree with. Um, unless like they do work for you, and then like that's great. But like that's
Yeah.
not like the front line of what I'm doing with someone.
Yeah.
But then also saying that like it's the person's sole responsibility to change, and that like, but also that like everyone who ever has had an eating disorder or is in a fat body has like severe trauma and is like, and then like trigger warning, has been molested.
She said that. Yeah,
She said
she really
that
did say that. She really
to
said that.
someone who was sitting in front of her who was very young.
Who, yeah.
And it looked like she was about to cry. I mean, like it was
Yeah.
horrifying. And that like if they don't admit that, they're lying to themselves.
Right. Right. Yeah.
So it was like this, like she was like couldn't agree with herself about what
No.
she was saying.
That's so true. Yeah, that's so true. And then when I was up for that claim and I tried to be like, okay, so what then if we're not gonna try and use body positivity, what then are you suggesting that we use to help somebody feel at peace and acceptance and, live in their body? And I was like trying to get her to say, like, what is the opposite? It's shame. It's using shame as a motivator. And she wouldn't really say that, but it's like we could run the tapes on all of the Biggest Loser, like that it is textbook shaming someone, screaming really awful things in their face. You're worthless, you're nothing, like it's really awful things. And trying to use that to motivate them. And then she went on this whole story of how like she got one
Yeah.
a
The
contestant
latter
to
story.
yeah to do something because of shame. And it's like yeah, I don't doubt that at all. Like of course you got them to do something because you were screaming in their face, but shame is not a motivator long term.
Yeah.
We know this, and like that was just like to me that's just like really basic psychology.
It
Like
teaches compliance. It doesn't actually teach change. Like we see that in kids, right? So it's like corporal punishment, right? Like spanking and stuff. Like it might stop the behavior, but it doesn't actually teach them coping strategy.
Right. Or intrinsic motivation of like, I want to do this because like this would feel nice, not or like I want to like, do something that to make my parent happy or something. I don't know. Instead, it's like I want to avoid punishment. And yeah, that was like, but also what was really realizing and reflecting on this whole thing is the term body positivity is so charged. Like, I wish that in the beginning, someone, and I guess people tried to do this, or like, I wish we had like an agreed upon working definition of what is body positivity because she was like thinking of like positive affirmations, like the very like Instagrammable version of it. And that was hard for me. Like, it was actually even hard for me in getting the email from Jubilee and them calling us body positive because like I don't necessarily fully like
Yeah.
identify as that. Like I maybe body liberation,
Yeah.
body acceptance, body
Yeah.
peace, like any of those things. But like I don't know. I really firmly believe like you don't have to feel positive about your body to
Right.
have positive body image.
Right. Well, I think that that's what was so like challenging around this is that people were actively trying to be like, well, actually, the body positivity movement is body liberation, and it's been co-opted, and like we can agree on that, that it's been co-opted, it's been watered down. The kind of like colloquial term for it is like love your body and like be positive around your body, and like yeah, that can be harmful, that can be challenging because a lot of times that's not possible because of all of these systemic issues. But like but the true body positivity movement is not disempowering. That's
Exactly.
actually the antithesis of it. It is we need it. It's like it's liberation.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
she couldn't.
Yeah, even with all these people sitting around the circle who have personally benefited from the body positive movement, people who are sharing their stories of feeling lost and hopeless and struggling with eating disorders, finding something on social media or somewhere and feeling for the first time like, oh, maybe I don't have to try and look a certain way. Like people were sharing those words in front of her face. And even still, she like that sounds like they were empowered by it. Like,
Yeah,
but she just couldn't, and she'd be like, I'm so happy for you. That's great for you. But like couldn't connect that like that person, those people represent a massive community of people who have found so much solace in a movement that tells them you can be accepting and you can work to resist the machine that wants you to hate yourself.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, and one thing that I said in my like solo interview, which I'm like so interested to see how they clip this,
Yeah,
but I was like, as I was thinking about it, I was like, I actually think that one of the reasons that she doesn't like the body positive movement is because it affects her bottom line, right? Like if people accept themselves,
right,
she does, I mean, like I know she's kind of like moved away from this, but like her brand is helping people to change their bodies.
right.
And if people have acceptance of their bodies, that threatens her bottom line, that threatens her brand.
Totally. 100%.
I said
And
that in my solo interview. So I'm interested if that's gonna make the cut or not. But like I do think that that's part of it. Like she's all like anti-corporation, like anti like big money, but I'm like, girl,
Yeah, you
I
benefit from
wish I could
that.
have said that to her face.
Yeah, no, it's so true. And it's not even just that it threatens her bottom line, it threatens her entire identity. Her entire
Yes.
identity is built on this, like, pull yourself up by the bootstraps. I was a quote unquote fat kid and I changed myself and I changed all these people on The Biggest Loser. You can do it too. And so it reminds me of in undergrad, there was a professor at my school whose whole research background was on like obesity research, and the director of dietetics at UVM, who's been on this podcast twice, she was in the process of transitioning the curriculum to be fully weight neutral, health at every size, intuitive eating. She was a intuitive eating counselor, and it was kind of like, how do you even keep this person whose entire research and career is based on something that
Yeah.
is not in agreement with the values of the program. Like yeah, like her whole life's work, her whole brand is exactly like what you're saying is like this is within your control. Like you can just pull yourself up by the bootstraps. And if people accept themselves, like you're yeah, it's completely threatened. That's a really good point. Um, the second claim, this one I just thought was like a kind of a nothing, like it was just like too vague. The body positivity movement oversimplifies serious issues like disorder eating and trauma. What were your feelings about this one? I mean, as a therapist.
I literally laughed when I saw it. I was like, this is so outrageous. I like can't even like what does it mean? It sounded like ChatGPT. I was like, what does this mean? Um, I was so frustrated I didn't get to go up for this one. Um, but like how?
Yeah. Yeah. It
And
does
she
just
didn't say anything of substance in this
no.
one.
This did
This
not
is when she
produce good
also said that like
conversation.
everybody had it was this is what she said everybody has had like sexual trauma or like some deep core wound that they're externalizing.
Yeah.
Um, just so dangerous, so harmful. Like so she I mean she did say things of substance in the fact that like she said really dangerous things, but like she didn't have anything to back it. I mean like
Yeah.
it was so frustrating. This was
Yeah.
like this claim made me really upset.
Yeah. I didn't think that this lend itself to like a debate that well. Like it was just like what like it was too umbrella. I don't know. Yeah, and it just brought her to keep saying there's some original wound if you're fat. Like it's not
Yeah.
like you've been through something or something like that. Um, yeah, I was so upset. That was the thing I wrote in my feedback form is like I thought they should have done a little bit more organizing of who went up for what. Like, okay, this woman Edie is a therapist. This claim is about trauma. Like, let's make sure she gets in the middle if she raises her hand for this. Like, it just felt like they could have done a little bit more um kind of curating of who went up for what, which I guess maybe is too much admin. I don't know, but because it felt like that was a place where they could really leverage your background and it was a missed opportunity.
Yeah. I agree. I mean, I think that it I don't know. They know who is there.
Yeah.
Like I guess I mean, I don't know how much we're supposed to say though about like the process. So like
Oh, it's fine. I emailed the guy. Yeah.
okay.
As long as this comes
Okay.
out after. Yeah.
Okay. But like they know who's there and like I feel like they can I feel like that would also lead to like more interesting debate, right?
Yeah.
Like to have like the quote unquote expert against their hero being able to actually debate on the topic that they're the best fit for versus
Totally.
like I spent like you going up for the O one, like that worked. That was great. Like I didn't want to go up for that one because I knew exactly what was going to happen. I knew
Yeah.
that she was going to do the medical terms, and I was like, I don't want to do this. I'm
Yeah.
not a medical doctor. I'm not an
No.
RD. I don't know these terms. I don't want to sit here and go back and forth about the fact that I don't know these terms. And for you to make me feel like you try to make me feel like an idiot. Like I knew that was going to happen, and I was like, this is dumb.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is a waste of everybody's time.
I know. Yeah. Yeah. That was really frustrating. Um, so then, yeah, we've talked about the next one. Obesity is not healthy. Pretending it is puts lives at risk. You and I both went up for that. And I think like the TLDR on that one is like she tried to like throw medical sounding words in there to like and like use a ton of acronyms to like kind of like throw us off and like get and like take she really tried to sidestep a lot and like take you down these rabbit holes, which is like such like a politician way of
Mhm.
debating instead of like addressing the thing that was being said.
Yeah. And
Um,
I think she was also flustered and mad. She didn't have her papers with her, her notes.
yeah.
She like kept being like, "Let me get my notes." And I was like,
Yeah. And
"We
we
don't
can't
have
all have
notes."
notes. Yeah, we don't
Yeah.
have notes. Like exactly. And then the last one was just like you said, Super MAGA, Maha, large food corporations are the primary beneficiaries of the body positive movement. Just for some background for the listener, like she was, and she had the article printed out. This really comes from this Washington Post article that came out a few years ago, that claimed this because, yeah, basically some intuitive eating dietitians were like sharing that they were getting sponsored by different food companies, which is like a normal thing that people with big followings on social media do. But the idea that like basically if someone practices body positivity, then they are like free to eat whatever and we might eat more quote unquote processed foods, and therefore teaching body positivity helps big food, which is just so dumb. Like,
And basically, that's what like everyone said. They were like, "So what?" Like
yeah.
literally. So I loved the woman who is the plus size bridal.
Oh yeah, she was really good. Yeah.
She was like, "And so
Yeah.
what? Like if they don't, if they want to like profit off us, they're gonna profit off everyone else. Like literally, who gives a shit?" Like
Yeah.
she like and Jillian like didn't know what to say.
Yeah, yeah. No, that was so true. And like I didn't get to go in for that one, but I like screamed from the outside of the circle, like I wish
Yeah,
they were paying me. I've never taken a dollar from anyone. Like that's
yeah,
like they're so much big, have so much more resources and like they're fine with or without the body positivity, quote unquote, big food is fine.
yeah. It's just like I did get to go up for that one. Thank God I got to go back in because I
Yeah.
was like, "Ugh, I can't have like my only thing be her like
I know. We had to like
yelling at
talk to the
me."
guy on the break and be like, please, like we want to go in more.
Um, but there was like 40 seconds left on the clock, and I was like, I was like, this claim is so silly, but like I'll go talk to
Yeah.
her about this, like whatever. Um, and I feel like this was like my shining moment because I got to really call her out on Maha. We like went back and forth a little bit about like ultra processed food, and I was like, this is so stupid. Like I don't care if you feel like chips have chemicals on them or like you want Oreos to have real sugar in them. Like, but I did get when I first said this was like my favorite part, I think, is I was like, I'm so sorry, but I do have to correct your language one more time.
Yes. Because she kept saying healthy at every
Yeah,
size.
healthy at every size. And I was like, it's
Yeah.
actually health at every size. And then she was like, oh, I'm so glad you agree with me. You can't be healthy at every size. And I was like, I never said
Yeah, can
that
you quickly explain like why that distinction matters so much for the listener?
because it's a trademarked corporation. Is that the right term? I don't know. It's a trademarked
Term.
society
Yeah.
term. And it's that like it's health promoting activities. And so I believe you can be healthy at any size, but that's not the point of the term. It's that it's health at any size, that like you can have health promoting activities at any size, health promoting behaviors at any size, but it's not about, but you also don't owe anyone else.
Yes.
And I wish that had also been said more. I know Marcy said it, I think, at the very end.
Yeah.
I wish I had said that too, but like it was just like it's so fast. Like
Yeah.
and
Oh my God. It was
but
such a whirlwind.
but then she like started talking about something else, and then I like paused her because she was like going down like the like chemicals sprayed on chips or something, and I was like, I don't, no, thank you. And I was like, so you really love Maha? And she was like, yeah. I was like,
You're like,
cool.
great. Glad we got that on recording.
Um, and I was like, and I was like, and you really like want, you really like are a health advocate. And she's like, yeah. And I was like, so how can you stand for society for Maha when they just cut billions to SNAP and
Yep.
billions to access to healthcare? And she looked at me like daggers. The face that I hope that's on camera. The face that she gave me versus what was coming out of her mouth, which was, well, no, nothing is perfect. But
Yeah.
it was like
Like some
Erica Kirk
steam out of her
eyes.
ears. Wow.
Yeah. And I was like, what?
Yeah. That was such a good point. It's like bringing it back. And that's more bringing it back to the systemic. piece of like,
Yeah,
okay, none of this matters if people don't have an adequate amount of food. Like
yeah.
that's like
I was like,
baseline health.
and
Like,
then she pivoted to the normal talking point of like, well, they shouldn't have access to soda and
right,
chips.
right. Why is SNAP covering
Yeah.
bad
The
food?
food, new food pyramid. I was like, I can't even talk to you about the new
Yeah.
food pyramid
No,
because,
no.
and I really want, and then I got, and then it was time. Really, my next point was going to be like, and Dr. Oz said that alcohol is not a problem. Like, what are we talking about? Like,
Yeah.
it has nothing to do with health. It has nothing to do with health.
Yeah. Um, I want to just, touch a little bit on the dynamic with her and Marcy. So Marcy is a woman who owns a plus size clothing company. I believe it's called the Plus Bus.
Yeah.
And she had a lot of really like great energy for debating. She
Yeah.
like clearly the producers were really into what she was giving Jillian and how they were playing off of each other. And they actually like asked like, oh, you guys like, would you want to do like a kind of spin-off debate, just you two? Marcy's someone who lives in a larger body and shared a lot about her personal story. And Jillian was like really like I don't know if like enjoying is the right word, but she was like she like at the end, Jillian was able to pick just one person from the circle to come back in, and she chose Marcy. And so Marcy, I think, had already been in maybe twice, and Jillian was like, "Come on, come back in here." And like when the timer was up on Marcy, Jillian was like, "Oh, like she clearly there was something about Marcy um that made Jillian, yeah, want to really keep
Yeah.
talking. I don't know. What do you think? What do you think was happening there?
I mean, I think Jillian wants to work with her, like in a
Like Savior.
savior mentality. I think Marcy did a phenomenal job.
She really,
Marcy was the star of the show.
yeah,
She held her own. She um, clapped back. She had great energy. I mean, like she did an incredible job.
yeah,
She didn't take any of the, she called her out. Like I think
yeah.
Marcy did phenomenal.
But she also kind of bowed to Jillian a little. Like she's like, it's Jillian fucking Michaels. Like
Yeah,
and I think like Jillian like that balance of like calling her out, but also clearly kind of like seeing her for the star she
yeah,
is in a way, did something for her.
yeah. I could see that. I think that Marcy's smart. I think she was doing that to to get the time,
Yeah,
like
to
to
appease.
to
Yeah,
appease.
yeah.
Yeah, to get to. She knew what Jillian needed
Mm,
to to play. I think Marcy did that on purpose. I think
yeah.
Marcy's really smart.
Yeah. Well, yeah,
Um,
that's very true. Yeah, she's playing the
uh,
game.
playing the game. I don't think Marcy did that because Marcy believes that to be true.
Hmm.
That
Yeah.
would be my feedback on that.
Yeah.
But I was appalled by how Jillian behaved, especially in the last 10 minutes, the last 10-minute debate.
Yeah. Was she like what specifically about those lines?
Like just I mean, we kind of touched on this, but like when she like went into assumed trauma,
Hmm.
when she went into like that she told Marcy to her face that she didn't believe, asked her what her blood work was, that was like shocking to me. Like when she was like, you can't be healthy because you're in a fat body, and
Hmm.
then was like, well, what was your blood work?
Hmm.
Like
Yeah.
so inappropriate,
Yeah.
so unnecessary. Like it does not matter. Again, no one owes anyone health.
Yeah.
And like to put someone in that position of vulnerability and to then push like that is truly just like disgusting, in my
Yeah.
opinion.
Totally. Totally. Yeah. And I think at one point she said something like Marcy was like, "Are you worried about my health?" And she's like, "Yeah." And just like how like
Yeah,
belittling that was. And
yeah,
I have sort of something that's been like I've been thinking about in the Marcy Jillian dynamic, and I felt like Jillian was almost like flirting with her in this way, where like Marcy represented something that was like almost like this like phenomenon of like where the line between love and hate is really thin.
mm,
And also I feel like Marcy represented like a freedom and
yeah.
self-acceptance that like Jillian will never have. And it reminded me of this book I read. Have you heard of the book Milk Fed?
Mm-mm.
Basically the main character has an eating disorder, and there's this like plot line in the book where she goes, and it's like a very ritualistic thing. She goes to get her frozen yogurt from the same place every day or whatever. And the woman who serves her frozen yogurt is fat, and the character with the eating disorder almost like develops, yeah, really does develop like a romantic feeling towards the woman who makes her frozen yogurt. And she says like her inner dialogue of like, oh, like how nice would it be if I could just like let myself go and just eat whatever and like let my body be in whatever way it wanted to be. And I don't know, it just made me think of that book and that like I wonder if Marcy represented something to Jillian that like she'll never have, which is
Yeah.
like true freedom and self-acceptance.
I mean, that's very possible. I guess like the next thing I want to say, like, I think we need to get Abby's permission. So because
Yeah,
this is Abby's idea, and
yeah,
I don't know if she wants it on the
yeah.
podcast,
Abby
but
Atwood.
yeah, Abby Atwood, yeah. But when I was talking with her about this, she was like, I would be so curious because like Jillian talked about the fact that like she had like these genetic markers for obesity.
Hmm.
And I'm using that term as Jillian
Yeah,
used it, and how like she beat it, quote unquote, beat it. And Abby's response to that was like, well, my follow-up question would be like, well, then like how? Like if your body is supposed to be genetically in a fat body, then like are you using disordered eating? Are you over
yeah,
exercising? Like what are you doing to
yeah.
maintain this body that you genetically are not supposed to be in and like
Right,
you're then promoting this
right. At what cost?
at what cost, right? And so like to kind of to that point, that's what that made me think of is this like intense control and restriction that she's fiercely holding on to in this identity piece is
Mm,
like where is this coming from and like what actually are you is your body supposed to be and what is this supposed to look like and like what are you doing to maintain this body that you are so intensely obsessed with.
yeah. Well, yeah. And someone said like she's like, if I can do it, anyone can do it. It's like, yeah,
Yeah.
well, this is your whole career. Like
Yeah.
the average person doesn't have that kind of time to put into.
She's a multi-millionaire
And she
too.
has
I mean,
all the resources. Someone like who said it? Like, oh, you're a rich white lady. Like you have a million and millions of dollars and time. Like I forget who said that, but it was like a great moment.
yeah.
We covered this already, but I think it's just like a nice thing to end on. What do you hope people take from watching this?
I hope people see that there's so many people who disagree with Jillian and her stance. Like, I think what can feel so honestly can feel so disempowering is when someone of such stature and power is saying these things and saying them on such a big platform because she has a really big platform. She's really famous,
Yeah.
and that can create false authority. And I think that's exactly what she wants to do. And so my hope is that by seeing this debate, and again, I have no idea how it's going to be edited, but
Yeah.
by seeing how many people come forward and are like, no, you're incorrect, you're wrong, think about it this way. And both from that like expert side and also the lived experience side, it's going to create a discourse of like, oh, wait, we don't need to shame, we don't need to belittle, we don't need to criticize. There's more to the story, there's more nuance, and there are experts that are not going to judge you based on your body size and can like meet you where you're at.
Yeah, I totally agree with all of that. And if even one person watches this and learns about the anti-diet, weight neutral, health at every size movement, like any of those things, then how amazing. Like
Oh,
that is
right.
just great. Yeah. Okay. Is there anything else you want to add to make this conversation feel complete before
Uh,
we wrap up?
yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm sure I'll have more thoughts after I see it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, so yeah, I'll ask you, I'll just ask it now in case so I have it. Where can people find you to stay connected and learn more about your work?
On Instagram, I'm Edie Stark Therapy. Um, and I have two different websites. I have starktherapygroup.com, which is the therapy practice, and then ediestark.com, which is where I do consulting work. And if you want like for media outreach, that's the best place to reach me.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Edie.
Yeah. Thank you.